Hello, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to It Is Halloween. And if you can believe it, it's the Friday night community race once again. I am Rowdy Roddy Sniper here with Veritas Knight in the booth. We've got Beauty and Discovery doing the restream and Xenocat handling the tracking for us. And we're here to watch Shiru and Ike here play our community night race as we show off one of the preset flag sets on our new 5.0 alpha uh, uh, build of the randomizer. Use Spoony Bard. And there it is night. It is Halloween. I think in the spirit of the holiday, this flag set can be very much either a trick or a treat for our runners.
Yeah. So just exactly like it says in the name, the emphasis of this flag is have edge, get spoon. We're going to start off with a series of objectives. There's going to be a total of 10 of them. And the only thing you get for completing those objectives is a spoon. We're also throwing in 3 random objectives, completely random from the remaining pool. You get a spoon. And then there will be 4 static objectives up on the screen: foraging, returning the pan to Sheila, completing the sealed cave, and trading the pink tail. The first 2 of those, can you guess what the reward is, Roddy Sniper?
The Earth Crystal.
No, it's a spoon.
But okay. That was my second guess.
For the third one, you will get the crystal and you will be able to proceed to the moon to fight the big bad guy. So this one's all about spoons. I hope there's no Edward fans in the chat, because he's not going to be equipping them. They are for throwing and throwing only, as was intended.
Yeah, no, definitely. And those spoons are very important, because when you look at the rest of the flags here, T Pro, sparse 70. So the strength of the equipment that we're going to find in our treasure chests is going to be a little bit less than normal, and only 70% of the boxes are going to have anything. So getting that early game power is going to be kind of hard. These runners are going to be limited to a lot of the tier 5 items. And to kind of curve that a little bit more, our monster boxes are going to be under the standard treasure randomization, so they can have anywhere from a tier 5 to a tier 8 item. So you can get your nice shiny holy swords or nice shiny ninja sword, but you can also get just a bunch of crystal gauntlets in there, and you're kind of stuck. So be interested to see how this breaks out for these runners.
Yeah, when it comes to treasure, the only boon that the flags are giving the runners today is that T Playable is on, so that new flag ensures that every item that shows up in a treasure chest will be something that is either a generic item that anyone can use, or that at least one of the 7 available characters can equip or otherwise employ. So we know if we see a orb, we know there's a Rydia somewhere in the seed. If we see a bow, well, that opens it up a little bit further. So that is at least a little bit nicer than complete randomization, but it still leaves a big gap between what you're going to open up in those earlier chests and what you might see a little bit later on.
And whether or not, as we get ready to get underway here, our experience, our usual 10 key item bonus is not on. Our slingshot, where if a character is 5 levels or more below the average of the party, that slingshot is not going to be available. But these runners are going to get 10% additional experience for every objective they complete, which, so that's good. Those multipliers are going to add up quite a bit as they start to get through these. Once they get rolling and get through these objectives.
That's right, and that's where those 3 totally random objectives that reward you with a spoon come into play. If you're able to if you get early ones of those, you probably want to get them as quickly as possible to accrue as much experience on your team. But if those end up being tough later game challenges like Cave Bahamut or Super Cannon, you're going to spend quite a bit of time at basic experience no matter what happens. So it is a really interesting flag set. The experience manipulation is really neat.
Yeah, like you said, we have don't think we've seen either of these runners check down below to see what the bonus 3 objectives are. So we don't know what those are just yet, but we will hopefully see that soon and get that so we can see if that's going to influence how these runners get moving as they are underway.
Well, I guess we'll be finding out via Impact. It's a little Halloween surprise for us as we start with Atella to join our mandatory Edge start.
Okay, not a bad starting kit. We got a Soma drop to if we want to do shenanigans with Tella and get in Medio after go to Mount Ordeals. Got a full moon, which will allow us to utilize the back row glitch and let Edge do full damage from the back row even after he unequips it from his right hand. And also, one of my favorite items, the get out of jail free card, the Moon Veil, which can make melee fights free. Which when we've got these tough objectives, that's nice to have.
The meme kit is also on, so Edge will start with a ninja shirt and a spare drain spear to throw. So there is a little bit of power available in that aspect, but otherwise Tsuneki is on, which means that these characters are starting out with a pretty low tier item in their hands, and that's about it. So there is going to be a little bit of looting and shopping required in order to get them at least to a level where you're comfortable taking on most of those early game challenges. Edge is pretty tough, but he needs a little bit more than a basic knife.
Yeah, and Shiru taking advantage of the fact that these runners also got the money kit, which will allow for some early shopping. Saw some good items in that Kaipo weapon shop, but yeah, I wouldn't have minded a dancing dagger for that offhand with that full moon. But there are, it's only $31,000 or 31,000 gold, so probably didn't want to waste too much money on that.
Yeah, the money. The kit money flag will go as high as 80,000, so they didn't get a supremely advantageous roll. And as you watch, as Shiro's been looting through Watery Pass, some of those chests are pre-opened. That is that scarcity flag set.
Yeah, that always seems to hit the hardest when you've got a Earth Crystal early on.
I think I would feel pretty sad going down to the treasury and seeing what a pickup for Shiru with the Murasame.
Yeah, the Watery Pass is weighted to have a little bit stronger loot because there's really not much of a purpose to go here normally, but Shiru, she hits the back of that Watery Pass and gets a Murasame.
Yeah, really good weapon for Edge to start. Meanwhile, Iker has gone up Mount Hobbs and is facing Bahamut for the right to walk away with a shiny new Porum.
This isn't a bad starting Shiru right now. Edge with the offensive, see that we found some very strong weapons. Berserk relatively early and Blink relatively early, so nice to have that. And then Tella can cast Exit.
I ran a seed of this just in preparation, and I ended up going to the Giant and doing a grind there. Tella, once he gets his spells and ordeals, can enable that if we see an early darkness crystal. And with most of those bonus bosses, and with K Moon on, you're going to want to. The Moon could have the goods. Maybe that's an option as well.
No, that is a very good point. We ribbed Tella because his stats aren't as strong as a lot of the other characters, but he does get a wide variety of spells, including Weak, Blink, Cure 4, Virus. The Cure 3 elemental spells can be a very useful character once you get him powered up by going through Mount Ordeals.
Iker's doing a deep loot of Antlion. He hasn't picked up anything too useful yet, but there's been a few interesting items. Short sword for Edge is something, anyway.
Yeah, I think also got a middle sword from the chest on Mount Hobbs, so does have some pretty good weapons to go options to go with that full moon.
Yeah, Shiru's getting her Edge set up, ready to roll, and it looks like she'll be going down an Antlion shortly after.
Yeah, a lot of runners like to pass on Antlion Cave if they don't have an exit caster, just because it's a fairly long walk down, even if it is an easy fight. But yeah, love love doing it early with Atella because you can just exit right out and make up for whatever time you take taking out this Kanatsu here.
Shouldn't be too many difficulties with the Kanatsu. Yeah, already hiding inside the shell.
Yeah.
So edge throwing about 400. Go ahead.
Please.
I was edge throwing about 400 damage. Shiru's with the Murasame doing about 530. So 755 on the second swing. So a little bit more extra power early on. And a Luca key being the item in question is really good because that's one of our 4 objectives. The third of which will give us the crystal instead of a spoon.
Yeah, very fortunate these runners both did Antlion Cave rather than fade it for later. Always good to get one of those key items, those items for an objective like that out of the way.
Yeah, one of those situations where that early Tella is going to push you towards the antlion, like you were commenting on earlier. So the seed's giving them a little bit of at least giving them one where they're setting it up. The seed has set them up for the correct result a little more nicely than maybe they might.
Shiru following suit and getting her Porum here in a couple minutes as Aikir heads on to Fabul.
Yeah, Aikir found cabins in the Fabul shop, which always good to have some quality camping gear, especially since we're going to be delving eventually into the underground and going to want to be able to heal up on the moon as well.
Absolutely. No, great to have that camping gear in hand before you start doing that. And you have Dark Knight Cecil here, and it looks like Aikir is going to go ahead and just try to take care of this fight with damage. Probably will be a little bit faster.
Well, I'm sorry, Dark Knight. It looks like Aikir is going to, in fact, fight now. Yeah, that was probably the right call. That was a little bit quicker than sitting through Cecil's speech. We'll see what the reward is here in a second from the King of Fabul. Ooh. Baron Key. All right.
Yeah, that is another two possibilities there, and that is Baron Basement is one of our 10 spoon objectives, correct?
That's right. So when they complete the Baron Basement, which almost certainly will not be right away, but when Aikir or Shiru complete the Baron Basement, they will get not only a key item check because Case Summon is on, they will get a spoon and a 10% experience bonus. So knowing that's in your back pocket early on, pretty handy as a runner, I think, to help you as you consider what comes next.
Shiru does elect to go through the speech, but we'll get through this Fabul defense just fine, as Aikir is heading to the Baron Inn and sees Kanatsura.
So you might be, if you haven't seen a 5.0C before, might be wondering why we're seeing a second turtle. One of our new flags is B Chaos, and in B Chaos, bosses can repeat. So it allows for us to see a boss multiple times in a seed.
Yeah, if you blinked, during that, you may have missed Kanatsu number 2, getting through that fight very quickly, and now taking on the Dark Elf here in the second half.
So Shiru is off to check the Bedward freebie, it looks like. We have not modified the base game in this perspective. So go to Torreya Castle, get an item. Oh,
that's handy. That is a magma key from the Edward in a bed. That will allow Shiru to get underground.
I'm so used to hunting for D-mists that When I was running, I completely forgot until about the 30-minute mark. Thankfully, it wasn't my underground access, but I did feel a little, gotta remember to check the flags, VK, come on.
Yeah, no, for Enterprise is a very customizable flag set, is a very customizable randomizer, and, that K-free item is usually turned off for a little bit more of a challenge. This time, though, it is on, so hopefully all these runners do remember that, because that magma key is very important. What wasn't quite as important was that ninja hat behind the Baron Inn defense. The Baron Inn.
Well, we have a ninja, so might as well give the fellow a hat.
So.
Or give it to Rydia,
Where did Ikir get that cursed ring?
I didn't catch it, maybe chat did, but a cursed ring, excellent item to have in hand because you are going to want to manipulate your agility, especially as we get underground.
Yeah, no, that is a very good find for Ikir. Hopefully Shiru can find another one or a place where they're for sale, because those are the best way to allow for that agility manipulation. And again, especially when you start looking at these lunar bosses, and you might have key items behind them, these runners may be inclined to make an early trip up to the moon to see what they can do.
Knowing you have a cursed ring in hand makes you a little bit more confident when you allow characters to level up. If you don't have one, you probably want to strongly think about keeping that Rydia at level 1. But having it in hand, I think you feel a little bit more confident that you can manipulate the agility as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Shiru getting her ninja hat, and Ikir now heading over to Mount Ordeal, still looking for that magma key, and also probably want to get that Telo online.
That would certainly be something I'd be thinking about, especially with that Soma drop in hand. You never know when you want to throw out 100 MP at once.
Yeah, being able to use that Soma drop to get 10 extra MP, and being able to get that one cast of Meteo, that can go a long a long way in getting through a very nasty CPU or something like that.
Also gives you an extra an extra week if you're doing a grind. It's just 100's a nice round number, and Tela having his spells is always pretty handy. So Shiru picks up a strength ring just like Iker did at the gated Baron shop, and looks like she's heading out to trade in the magma key.
Yeah, makes sense. Standard shops on, so she'll be able to find some stronger stuff down there to help out. Meanwhile, Ikir finding the regular Babool gauntlet here at Ordeals 1, so that makes a slow check a little bit slower.
Yeah, the regular gauntlet is interesting to see. I think if you want the gauntlet to show up in your seed, you want it to show up maybe a little bit later on, but it might, because we have B Chaos on. We might be seeing multiple gauntlets. Who knows? There could be a gauntlet behind this gauntlet. It looks like trading in magma was one of our runners' 3 and 8 random objectives, because Shiru just got her first spoon.
Yep, 10% bonus experience and a spoon, so that's gonna definitely start to break open the seed a little bit, give her some options as far as what she can and can't do. That spoon's gonna do at least probably around 7,000 damage with Edge's levels right now, so that'll go a long way in getting through some of these underground fights if you want to use it early, or if you want to hang on to it for a rainier day.
Get enough of them that you can throw 1 or 2 in the underground and still have plenty for the moon. It's there's so many spoons. It's like my grade 3 music classroom, because that's about the only instrument we had.
See, mine had recorders, so I guess that would be more fitting for Zelda 1 randomizer.
There we go.
But no, I agree. I think that the runners will be in would be well advised to use those. Be a little bit more liberal in their use of the spoon than they otherwise would be, because you're going to get another one and you're going to get a couple more after that. So it definitely is worth utilizing them.
You're guaranteed to get at least 2 every seed. Shiru's taking those chests in the Feymarch cave. Looks like she's going to reset out of the warriors fight. Yeah. And probably continue the looting to get that higher tier loot.
And Ikir is through the gauntlet at Ordeals 1 and now gets to face Odin at the back attack spot.
My absolute favorite spot to run into an Odin. The Odin around the world attack just makes me giggle every time.
Yeah, hopefully for Ikir's sake, he won't see that, because I don't think I think that would be very much bad. That would be very much a doomed attempt at this time if he were to see that.
All right, and we're gonna see. Oh, I missed what the key item check was.
It was just a coffin.
Oh well, Odin is down. Not too many difficulties there for Ikir getting through.
We do have a question in chat. Is the sea hero? No, it is not. So you can utilize Tella or someone else as an anchor with that curse ring. You don't have to rely on Edge, because that would definitely ramp up the challenge in this flag set.
Another question in chat from Cecil 2 was, in B Chaos, is there a max time a boss can appear? In our wonderful restream reviewing Discovery has answered that there is not a limit. But as Beauty also points out, you can choose to exclude bosses, so you can take out the hard ones if you want, or you can take out the easy ones. It's a really interesting new set of flags, and I think we're going to see a lot of creative things done with it over the coming little while.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some wonderful flag set makers in this community, and you're already starting to see the fun they're having with this. Speaking of fun, that was a Golbez at the King of Feymarch spot and a Dark Imps at the Queen of Feymarch spot. Not really the bosses you want to see at those spots.
Yeah, that is it's not great. Ikir takes on Leviathan pretty easily to get his Tella online, and found the Earth Crystal in the Mirror Room. So still looking for that Magma Key, but that may push Ikir to check the Bedward.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. You're looking for characters. You're looking for underground access. Yeah, I agree that's a big shove to go to Troya Castle, and you're gonna check Edward while you're there, hopefully.
So folks, just a reminder, we're looking for the 4 objectives on the screen: Forge, Return the Pan, Complete the Sealed Cave, which both runners have the Luca key in hand, and trading away the Pink Tail. They also get a 10% experience reward and a spoon for completing any Moon Altar, King, Queen in the Feymarch, the Baron Basement, and there's 3 other objectives we didn't get to see earlier, one of which was turning in the Magma Key. So there could be, at any point, when they complete a quest or something, we could see that pop up, you got a spoon.
So Ikir is going to head on over to the Treasury. We will rate this, we will be rating this T-Pro 70% sparse Treasury, so we'll probably have to grade this on a curve.
That's painful. Ooh, a lightsaber. All right.
Yeah, Stardust Rod and a light sword. Not exactly a home run by any stretch of the imagination, even with the T-Pro 70% sparse, but some decent things.
I think the number one thing I got from that as a watcher is the knowledge that there's a Cecil in this seed. I think only Cecil can equip the lightsaber, right?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to remember, because I know that in one of the other versions that the darts didn't count. Do darts count
that could be
for
it.
edge?
Yeah.
I'm asking this question for people in the chat that may remember that, because my memory is a bit fuzzy on that, because I know in a previous version of the randomizer 4.6, in some of the 4.6 forks, they don't have that option, or they don't count darts for that. Okay, good. While I'm confirming in chat, darts do count as playable, so that's not necessarily the knowledge we were hoping for.
Oh, well, that's a little disappointing, I think. But
Thank you for that, Wylam.
Maybe. Shiru gets through the Ogo and runs up against a Bahamut. This shouldn't be too challenging.
No, Bahamatra probably will be taken care of pretty quickly here. We do get a second Porum from Dwarf Castle, it looks like.
And duplicate characters are allowed, so why not have 2 Porums? It's kind of like having the twins.
Twin will activate with Porum and Porum or Palom, so that does certainly help.
Like you're checking chests and has found the Flame Dog, but K Miab is not on. So while this may give a slightly better treasure result, does not give us that chance of a key item.
And honestly, I'm sure Aikir's probably a little bit worried about experience right now. I mean, that edge doesn't have too many levels. Rydia and Porum still seem to be getting off the ground, so...
I'll take that Moon Veil, though.
I would say that's the second Moon Veil. That's a good thing to use against those Dark Imps down in the Fame Arch once Aikir sees them.
Aikir's definitely found a few interesting items for that purpose. Shiru is through the Bahamut, and we'll see the reward there in a little bit. The warp glitch is not on, so if Shiru wants to find out what's in the Shield Cave, she's going to have to head on down.
Yeah. Fortunately, complete the Sealed Cave is an objective anyway, so it's not like you're getting the extra reward for doing it as well, so makes it a little bit easier.
The first boss at Zot is Sandy, Cindy, and Mindy. I believe that is the vanilla location for the Magus Sisters.
It is. So our first dash of vanilla here in this seed.
Iker using that new Stardust Rod on his Rydia to rain fire on the getting around any walls that get cast and just trying to get some damage out on them.
Yeah, going for Cindy first. That will keep her from bringing back Sandy and Mindy after you take them out. I usually go after Mindy first because she is the most dangerous with her spells, but makes sense if you don't want to get stuck having to deal with her getting revived constantly.
Meanwhile, Shiru gets through Dwarf Castle, picking up a crystal ring for her troubles, which is an okay piece of gear, pretty nice piece of gear, but certainly not what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's certainly worse things to grab, but that +5 agility and resistance to dragons, and I believe it also blocks paralysis.
Yeah, very handy item. But not getting you closer to that goal, not getting you closer to those moon altars. So I think, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, I suppose, but...
Yeah, I'd rather have the crystal ring than a crystal gauntlet, even though that would let me know Cecil was in the seed.
Well, Iker is through the Magus Sisters. We'll see that it is the Bahamut at Dwarf 2, and then we'll see what the second boss and the 2 characters are. And here comes Dr. Lugay and his faithful servant. That is scripted to punch him, Mr. Dr. Lugay. on the first attack, so maybe not quite as faithful as you'd like. Iker sees a Yang. Okay.
Yeah. Yang, great character once you get a lot of, Yang's an investment. Takes a lot of time to get some, once you get a bunch of levels in him, he gets that attack scaling with his strength and is a very powerful character, but, definitely does need a grind to fully unlock his potential. Sid? Yeah, no, I don't blame Iker for letting Sid go, because, well, he's got a lot of HP and he's great in the early game. He's probably already tapering off his usefulness here in this flag set, other than as a chemist.
Yeah, you could throw Sid in the middle slot, put that curse ring on him, and have a decent anchor, but why do that when you can do that with Tella? Yeah, I think Sid's probably not as useful as you want. And speaking of karates, looks like we got a karate.
Yeah, and Shiru taking on the Dark Imps number 2, Dark Impas, here at Baron Defense.
I think Shiru will find these slightly easier to handle than the ones slightly easier.
Yeah, definitely. Probably would be wishing that she had that Stardust rod that Iker found in the treasury in Toroya. Speed this up a little bit.
Now, the Edge has a decent amount of power, but it would be really nice, I think, to have that Stardust rod. On the other side, Iker is still working to get through. Rydia has fallen down a couple times, but shouldn't have too much problem. Ooh, and on Shiru's side, we're going to get a second Edge.
That's interesting. We don't really have too many good weapons for him. But
Shiru's thinking real hard about this.
Yeah, no, I would be too. This is a tough call because, you've got, if she's got the curse ring, she can use Rydia or one of the Porums as an anchor and is going to get rid of the Tella for another Edge. It's another character that can dart those spoons, and if you do find another couple weapons, that's two really strong melee attackers.
There's also the possibility you find ninja swords for sale later on. So Shiru, I guess, I get it. I mean, I'd go for the Edge as well. Iker, though, gets through the Earth Crystal, gets through Zot, and gets the Darkness Crystal.
And a tower key for Shiru, so both finding some interesting items, but Darkness Crystal a little bit more important in this flag set because of all those bosses, and plus the K main flag being on. So
Iker is immediately raising that whale, almost certainly going to do the character check. We'll get our first glimpse at the moon. The divergence in this run has been really enjoyable to watch. Both runners just taking wildly disparate paths through the seed, but we know now that Shiru eventually either has to find a pass or has to go back to Ordeals and then do Zot.
Yeah, no. So far, Iker hasn't touched the underground even after getting that magma key, but definitely finding some very important keys to this puzzle here. So, I do hope for Shiro's sake that either she does make her way up and follows that chain, which that's not going to feel good having to do Ordeals and then do and then do Tower of Zot to get that, but she does seem to be setting up for stealing Sirens, so she has her grind.
I suppose if you have two edges, this is a pretty efficient way to get yourself a mitt full of Sirens.
Yeah, two edges, and also taking advantage of the fact that Cry affects the enemy's levels, which its only useful interaction is making steal easier, which, is great because Edge is never in the party at the same time as Porum in the vanilla game.
Two crying Porums and two stealing Edges. It's a beautiful thing to watch. Iker on the moon.
Yeah.
Found some hourglasses too at the Hummingway shop and is now heading over to see that this character is going to be... Oh, wow, there's our 7th character. What a... Wow.
Yeah, unfortunately, I love using Edward whenever I can. There are no, he is a great situational character. This is not likely going to be that situation. Was thinking about swapping out his anchor.
Boy, yeah, unfortunately with the spoon flag for equipping on Edward not on, it's just not, unless you want an anchor, it's a tough call for Mr. Edward, I think.
Yeah, even with the T Pro making an Artemis bow relatively hard to come by, Artemis Edward can do some pretty good damage, but yeah, no, not even getting that benefit, unfortunately.
So Iker's finished on the moon for now. Gonna go take a look at the Troya. Oh, is he gonna? Yeah. Thought Iker was gonna go change out a character, but has made a decision not to.
Yeah, the C buy flag is not on, meaning that Iker can go ahead or either of these runners can go ahead and go back to the Tower of Wishes in Mysidia to get a character that they have previously dismissed. But yeah, Iker deciding, no, I am happy with what I've got.
So by turning in the Magma Key, Iker will get his first spoon and his first 10% experience bonus. And I'm almost guessing Iker didn't take a peek, because getting that experience bonus alone would have encouraged me to turn in the Magma Key as quickly as I found it pretty well.
Yeah, 10% right now going through like Tower, going through Tower, being at the Tower of Zot when getting the Magma Key, the routing made sense, and since it didn't look like he had a plan on going ahead and doing anything on the moon, it made sense to hold off. But if I were in a situation where I were planning on, if he had planned on doing those moon checks, then yeah, absolutely come here first and then turn in your darkness crystal to make sure you at least had that extra 10%. But in this case, it looks like he made a decision based on routing efficiency, which is also a good call.
I had wondered once Iker found the hourglasses if maybe a hairdryer's check was on the table. There's a good amount of experience there, but I guess back to the blue planet and underground. Shiru, having picked up a bunch of sirens, has left the Tower of Babel and is going to go scramble some eggs.
Yeah. Let's see how many sirens she has. 23 sirens. That'll get everybody pretty close to fully online.
Yeah, pretty quickly got them. So that edge porum combination seems to have been very, very useful. Iker checking the shops in Dwarf Castle, and then will likely proceed to engage the boss here, which we know is going to pay out a crystal ring.
Our restreamer in chat pointing out newer change in the 5.0 flag set. Since normally in Final Fantasy IV, crits are designated by a flash on the screen. By default, Free Enterprise turns off that flashing because it's not fun. So to better indicate that the crit has occurred, you're now seeing those yellow damage numbers. So that is your visual indicator that there's a crit factored into that damage number, which I think is a wonderful accessibility feature that we've put in there, since a lot of people can't really, are sensitive to those the flashing effects in this game. So I'm very happy to see things like that.
It's a small change, but one that makes the game a little bit more accessible, and I think that makes it worth doing for sure. We just saw another one as Edge takes down a egg for Shiru. Ike, you're going to take that spoon and throw it. So, right away.
Yeah, no, I mean, that as you see here, that Ogopogo, it's very nasty, very strong here. There's, I think, what, 9,000 HP at that spot, so and it's relatively quick. So you wanna get through that as quickly as possible.
Definitely got through that a little bit quicker than Shiru with that spoon toss. So completely worthwhile from a speed perspective, from a power level perspective, and that, you know, when you're probably getting another drawer full of them, why not throw the first one on that tough boss?
Yeah, absolutely. Shiru being in this situation, she did a little bit more early game looting. That the Murasame sword that she found in the back of Watery Pass, I think, probably gave a little bit more confidence, because that's one thing that Aikir's Edge is lacking a little bit. Doesn't have the great top end weapons that Shiru's Edge has.
And even now we see Shiru leaning on that edge with the Mura, zerking him up to take those dragons out pretty quickly for the 37,000 experience.
Yeah, no, that's a very good call on Shiru's part. She's just going to get through those fights faster, just letting the main damage dealer do the work rather than try to have anybody else pitch in.
Aikir threw the Bahamut without too much difficulty, throwing up some Star Veils to reflect the Mega Nuke, and will watch the hand steal the crystal before getting his crystal ring reward.
One of those cutscenes where you just kind of sit there and go, they're slowly getting away. What should we do?
We must stand and watch. Shiru down to her 18th Siren, and we'll see how deep she goes, and we'll see where Aikir goes next. I don't think Aikir's looked at the Fey March yet, so that's where I would expect, but who knows? Runners do their own thing sometimes.
Yeah, has two very, very good options here, both falling in line with our usual free enterprise mantra of do your freebies, do your objectives. You can get the freebie at the Fey March and get knowledge of 2 other objectives, or Aikir might be able to get through that Luca the sealed cave with that Luca key and the party that he has.
Aikir's going to head down to the Fey March, see that the king is Mr. Golbez and that the queen are 3 dark imps in a trench coat. Pick up the coffin from the Fey March freebie, and, well, I guess we'll see if Aikir feels like he could tackle one, but my guess is we'll see him dip out, similar to how Shiru did.
Yeah, Aikir does have those Hourglass 2s. Like you had said earlier, Veritas, he does have a few different options to handle those. May decide to go ahead with two blink casters and those Hourglasses to maybe take a stab at it, but that is a bit of a risk because that is a very fast and punchy spot.
A couple of coffins as well, and I think Aikir picked up an assassin dagger in the treasury, so their be no free is not on. Should be able to take a shot at it.
I almost forgot. Also grabbed an Odin and Odin summon and had Iridia learn that. So it does have a third option.
Yeah, taking advantage of the fact that although they're in the boss pool, they're not technically bosses, don't have the boss bit set, and they're therefore much more susceptible to a pile of things. I mean, hey, Tella's in the middle slot and Tella can cast stone. So there's a fourth option. There's ways to make this happen.
Yeah, no, stone on those bosses gets through that very quickly. Is going to want to try and get that Hourglass 2 or a Moon Veil on somebody before doing anything, just to give an opportunity. Seeing Bacchus wines here at the shop. I don't know if I saw Shiru pick up any of those.
She did. So little, and I think it was a money question as well at the time. Shiru, I don't think too worried about it with 2 Porums in her party.
No, having two Berserk casters does mitigate the need for Bacchus Wines, but there's a few times where you want that ability for Edge just to start getting that Berserk rolling, like, even on these, you see it a little bit here, having to take the time to wait a turn or two to get one of the Porums to cast the Berserk on Edge. A little bit time, a little bit of efficiency, not much of a problem on her grind, it's not slowing her down, but there are some boss fights where that can make a difference.
So it looks like Ike here has gone for throwing the Hourglass 2 on the Dark Imps and then zerking up the Edge. Rydia, Young, and Porum took the hits to clear exactly the right hits for Iker to pull this off quickly. And now Iker will get the rest of the party back up, or as much of them as possible, before those Dark Imps are toast.
Yeah, I do think Iker's got a little bit of time here. Not utilizing those coffins, just going to have Edge do the damage here. Our restreamer Beauty and Discovery pointing out that life glitches are possible here, where if you use a life potion or a life spell on an enemy, as right after they have their animation has shown that they're dead, that they've been defeated, you can still target them, revive them with their 0 vitality. They instantly die again, so you get credit for 2 kills.
Oh, and looks like Ikira is going to go for a life glitch and get that additional experience from that Dark Imp. Meanwhile, Shiru is done with her grind and is heading up the Tower of Zot. Oh, sorry, Tower of Babel. Get my towers confused too often.
There are a lot of towers.
And they look the same.
They do. Efficiency of utilizing tile sets with limited space.
Hey, I get it. They didn't have a lot of room on those cartridges back in the day.
Nope, and we find Golbezra here at the Tower of in the Super Can room. This is a little annoying.
I feel like this is going to take some time, and I feel like if you're Shiru, you're probably shaking your head. Ike here gets a Sand Ruby for his troubles with the Dark Imps, but will also get a spoon and 10% experience bonus from completing one of the objectives.
Yep. Question in our chat. Can you use Life 2 in theory for unlimited kills? Yes, Life 2 will bring an enemy back with full health. So you can do that. Generally most runners won't utilize that as often, just because it's just most of the time, like for the times we're primarily using it, like a D machine grind, you're just going to be casting weak anyway. It's faster and more efficient just to use a life potion or a cheaper life spell.
So
but you can't do it.
Yeah. So on Shiru's side, we're seeing a Golbez that has fallen to Ifrit pretty quickly. I missed which spell the Golbez used, though. So I did too, sorry. We have Bewitch Bez on, which means that each Golbez will have a different attack. The Shadow may use a different attack. This expands the pool to make it a little bit more random. And maybe you don't. It's not as bad if you have Be Unsafe on, which we don't. Sorry, Be Risky, which we don't. They could even be a more powerful attack than the one that's usually used.
And also randomizes shadows spells here. Ooh, that magnet on Edge is very unpleasant. Worse than the fatal attacks there.
Magnet followed by a fatal. So, Tella takes the fatal. Edge loses. He gets hit by the magnet. So that's a tough one. We'll see how Iker gets through this.
Yeah, did get a Star Veil up on Yang because he does have that crystal ring that they found, so we'll be protected from those spells if they target him. That Fire 3 on Edge is probably a good thing because now you can revive him and get that magnet off. But not great seeing that Yang doing 400 damage a turn because he's still fairly low level.
That feels bad, I think, if you're Iker. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is a argument for just kind of saying, I've got the Star Veil on Yang, just let him be the one that stays up and let everybody else target. But you know, is using one of those moon veils on Edge that'll help keep him up for that. So, I mean, should be in decent shape.
I'm thinking Spoon if I'm Iker at this point, just to get through this.
That Spoon from the Dark Imps just me, Buzz. I agree, but does get lucky. A fire 3 reflect. That's a big chunk of the damage at this spot. Meanwhile, Shiru has defeated the Golbez at the Super Can room. We'll find out what items she gets for that. But now is going to go through and take on the elements here at the top of the tower.
So this spot's pretty low on magic power, which I think helps. I wouldn't mind seeing an elements here. In fact, I think I did see an elements here when I ran this flag set earlier. So could be worse. Of course, that doesn't mean you won't see elements again, because we have the chaos on and it's pure chaos.
So
Iker's still working on that Golbez.
Yeah, that there's a lot of HP at this spot. Even though Golbez loses a little bit because of Shadow, it's still a lot to go through. Especially since he hasn't done the grind that Shiru has.
Despite Shiru's levels, the damage still isn't super great, both on Rydia's viruses and Edge's weapons, and that speaks to the sparsity of gear that we see with this flag set. So really, elements on the final form, the Val, shouldn't have any problems getting through, but it's just time consuming, just like that Golbez.
Yeah, and I missed on Shiro's part. She does have Rydia in the center slot, so maybe if she's got a curse string, she may have her curse to be an agility anchor. So that will if the curse string without the Stardust Rod that Iker found does make it, isn't there to reduce the downsides of the curse string to other stats as well as agility. But that is a legend sword for Shiru for getting through that elements fight.
That's right. So Shiru now has 1.5 of the crystal gaining objectives available to her. Iker finally through the Golbez, picks up a Gaia drum for his troubles, but also gets the spoon and another experience bump for completing the objective.
Yeah, that's a bit of a whammy as far as an item, but the spoon definitely makes up for it.
I think Iker's going to have some interesting choices here. Pretty much cleaned up what he has available other than setting up the Sheila 1 check and top of tower. Could go to the sealed cave, get that objective checked off. Could go chase the Baron key, which we know would lead to the tower key. Be curious to see where Iker goes next.
Yeah, without that tower key, that top of tower check is far less attractive. Just because it's a long walk, you can't exit out for cutscene purposes, so you have to walk it all the way out. I can certainly see Iker holding off on that until the tower key helps make it a little bit more of an incentive.
I'm a big believer on keyless tower, and if I have to do a hook rope to get underground, but beyond that, I don't think so.
Yeah, it makes sense. Coming the hook route, you take over the Falcon right there in front of it. Makes a lot of sense to go ahead and do that, just because I'm there. I know what the boss is. I know what I'm getting into.
Iker being the hero of the people and checking the job dwarf, the cutting machine operators. So very important information. and then we'll check the rest of the shops, or at least one of the shops, at the other dwarf town, which name escapes me.
Tomra.
Tomra, yeah, I knew that. I promise. I played this.
Good old Tomra. The Brecken area of the underground.
Shiru taking chests on the way down, looking for those Miabs, which do have slightly better gear. And Ike here is going to go open the sealed cave, which just opening the sealed cave apparently gives us a spoon and an experience bonus. It's interesting.
Yeah. Now, to your earlier point, I'm a little surprised that I would have prioritized opening that before anything else down here if I had the Luca key in hand, because that is a very quick and easy 10% experience. That is, you had mentioned that earlier with the magma key. I would have personally incentivized that a little bit more.
Yeah, especially if you are going to go take on bosses. I get it. I understand when we were talking earlier about doing it after Tower of Zot, the numbers are a little bit lower there, so that makes sense. Prioritize your routing over your experience, but it's so quick. You're going in that direction anyway in a lot of cases. Interesting. Like I said, we didn't see the runners check, so maybe they just didn't. Who knows? Ooh, boy, oh boy, does the Tower of Babel have the goods today.
Yeah, no, Shiru getting a lot of very good stuff there. Going to be able to get another objective and another spoon down, so we'll get another 10% for herself there, as well as as you said, that half objective for the Legend Sword, and then three checks. Going to be able to bonk Yang with the pan to see what's there, and going to be able to see both of Sheila's checks. And yeah, our tracker Xenacat pointing out that tower is hard. Tower is required. You either have to do keyless tower, top of the tower, or you have to do super cannon.
So you absolutely have to do, with that hook, you absolutely have to do super cannon, because hook is going to be required for trading away the pink tail. So 2 objectives are going through super cannon now.
So that Baron key check looms very large for Aikir right now.
Aikir also just got the harp, and we'll run into the second Leviathan of the Seed.
Yeah, this isn't quite as scary as a noodle as you could see here until the ice 2s start coming out, and then you realize just how high the magic attack at this spot is.
Oh wow! So there's the pink tail on Sheila 1.
Wow,
That's that is a very hard required. And a Masamune for your troubles. So there's a second nice weapon for your edge. Ooh. So Shiru is in go mode.
Yeah, and in a very good position, because while she may not have the number of checks that Aikir has done, she doesn't have the same objective bonus he has. She's still got a stack of sirens ready to go, so she can just grind. Still needs a darkness crystal or a pass, though. That's right. I forgot about that.
That's right.
Does not have access to the Z fight just yet.
And we know that the darkness crystal is buried behind the earth crystal, which is in up Mount Ordeals. So
yes. Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
That how long the pass could very well be on the moon. That is completely possible. So however long Shiru chooses to fade Ordeals. I know if I'm her, I'm thinking, go do my objectives, Baron Basement, get the King Queen. The longer she fades Ordeals, the longer I think she's in trouble. Unless the pass is behind the Baron Basement here, I don't think there's anything else on the blue planet we haven't seen. Oh, yeah. Other than Twin Harp. I'll put that out there right now.
So the decisions these runners make could, because that is hard required at this point. The hook, or with the pan, with the pan being there, the hook being behind the pan.
Victory in this
Is
case.
a darkness crystal.
Victory in this case runs through both, well, probably through Mount Ordeals, but certainly runs through the Super Cannon Room.
Exactly. And, you know, Ikir doesn't have that piece of the puzzle yet, but does have the darkness crystal, and, you know,
So, correct me if I'm wrong.
We'll see what he does.
Didn't we see Dark Imps on the Baron throne earlier? So we have Dark Imps who stole the throne from the Dark Imps? Is that what I...
We saw Dark Imps at the Queen of Feymarch spots, so I don't believe they were the...
No, because I think
it might have been, yeah, because our Beauty and Discovery is calling Dimbaga, so they are, that is our third Dark Imp, so yes, you are correct.
Iker turning the Sand Ruby, looking for another Rydia, or was that our third random objective I want? Oh, no, it looks like going for an anchor, I would guess. Baron Monopoly, these little oligarchs. Beauty. We have overthrown the Dark Imps and replaced them with Dark Imps. And if you go into the Feymarch, guess who's ruling there? More Dark Imps.
It's you know, the alt gauntlet is sometimes referred to as the Barovian Senate. This is more of a single party system here in Baron.
Looks like Ikir is heading back to the moon. Shiru will finish up in the Baron basement.
And just a white spear, very nice dart, but yeah, it now depends on where she goes.
In this seed, I feel like getting a very nice dart is always anticlimactic because you're getting the best dart so often. Yeah,
well, it's a little bit better because she's got the two edges, so you know it's like, you know, there's only so many spoons to go around.
Listen, you do enough objectives here. You can throw a lot of spoons. Mira Chan, you've asked an excellent question. What's useful on the moon? And K Moon is on, K Summon is on, which means all of the moon altars in the lunar subterrane as well as Cave Bahamut could all give you a key item check. And of course, those 5 altars on the lunar subterrane are also going to give you an experience point bonus because they are objectives, and more spoons because we need more spoons. But Ikir is going to go grab the hairdryer's chest, likely get a little experience and hope for a better item for one of his characters, while Shiru is going to hit up the sealed cave.
Yeah, she's going to get those two objectives. One for just a spoon, and one will get a spoon and part of our path to the crystal.
Two objectives in the sealed cave. That feels pretty good.
Yeah, you know, it's a lot of walking, but you know, that certainly makes you feel a lot better about doing it. You know, there is one other reason I can see Ikir deciding to come up here, and you know, it's a decision that there's times where I definitely would be making the same decision. Ikir hasn't done the grind that Shiru has, so but does have the ability to take these boxes, does have the ability to get the levels up here, so might be using this as his grind as well, hoping to get the items that he's looking for as well. So that, you know, you know, that makes sense as far as you know, killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Well, Ikir's got his hands on 3, 4, 5 objectives, which means is currently looking at a 1.5 modifier for the experience, but if does do all 5 lunar subterrane altars, walks out with a bunch of experience above the normal and a 2.0 modifier by the end, regardless of those key items, which is, you know, what we would normally expect. So Why not? And you get a bunch of spoons to throw, and who doesn't love throwing spoons? Don't tell my roommate. I might go throw some spoons later just to see how good it feels.
Well, we all want to live out our dream of being the Blue Raja from the 1999 hit Mystery Men.
I love Mystery Men. It's a guilty pleasure movie. But I will admit, if I could be a character from Mystery Men, I would be the shoveler. There's something about the way William H. Macy delivers the line, "I shovel well, I shovel very well," that has stuck with me for over 25 years.
Honestly, I think the only knock in that movie is that it's the movie that unleashed Smash Mouth's All-Star on us.
What, you don't like All-Star? Jeez. I guess we should probably talk about the race. Ikir's found a mom bomb at the Mura altar.
Yeah, this isn't the worst spot to fight a mom bomb, but it's an extra 9,000 HP. But we're starting to see those characters get the strength there. Young starting to hit for a little bit more with those levels. Edge getting some good hits in there, so is in a better situation. Should be able to get through this, especially with that Leviathan that he picked up off the hair dryers, as Shiru gets through Leviathan in the sealed cave, getting another objective, getting another spoon.
Be curious to see what Shiru chases next. She's got some interesting options ahead of her. We know that almost certainly Ordeals is the way she's got to go, but we haven't seen that harp yet, so I'm really curious.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, free Enterprise runners don't like checks with long cutscenes and checks with multiple bosses. Ordeals has both, and Twin Harp has a very long cutscenes. So it's kind of a coin flip as far as which one. I personally, if I have made a conscious decision to avoid Mount Ordeals, I would after Twin Harp, and I would be punished for this. But unless the pass is there and Shiru gets that, hits that, but is going to do the Fade March first.
Yeah, that makes sense. Their objectives, their key item checks, they give experience bonuses. She's already handled one Golbez, why not another? And already handled 2 sets of Dark Imps. I mean, how hard can the third one hit?
Yeah. And does have that extra experience gain that Ikir didn't have, so should get through them a little bit faster.
Speaking of Ikir's through the Mom Bomb. I didn't see what the reward was. It doesn't look like it was a key item, and will exit out of the lunar subterrane and then head right back in. So I think you called it correctly, Roddy Sniper. It looks like Ikir is combining that with a series of key item checks that we know won't hold the goods, but will certainly get Ikir into a good position experience point wise.
Yeah, no, from with the knowledge in the situation Ikir's in, I don't dislike the play at all. You've had this Darkness Crystal relatively early. It's behind a chain that a lot of runners aren't going to necessarily want to chase. We do have, between Shiru and Ikir, we also have 2 other runners off the restream that are also participating in this race. So it's kind of a bit of a counterplay here. And there's a number of reasons to do this. So I appreciate doing it. Plus, I'm always a big fan of doing a lower level moon grind.
I think with the options Ikir has on the table in front of him, which is chase the Baron Key, long check. There is an objective in there that we know of. Chase the Twin Harp, very long check. Or go to the moon, where there are 5 or 6 checks available, depending on if you go to cave value. Yeah, they're not K-main checks, but I feel like I can see why it's just the sheer number of checks plus the experience plus the fact that they're going to give you the bonuses and the spoons to handle anything else that comes up later. I get it. We know from what we've seen on Shiru's screen that it's not going to help Aikir win the game directly. So, but we also know Shiru has some interesting routing choices ahead of her. So it really is a really fascinating race at this stage. And if you were to ask me who is ahead, I don't know that I could pick.
Yeah, no, it's going to depend on how long it takes Shiru to get that darkness crystal or get a pass. But meanwhile, Aikir, needs to get that Baron Castle done to get that tower key. So it's we'll see who gets back on the right track first.
Yeah, the only question mark for wherever these runners have to go is what's at that Twin Harp. But we know that, we know that they all have to make certain decisions at this point. And we're going to get to see, I think, quite a lot of this seed between the two of them.
So Shiru getting through. I think that was the first Dark Imps we saw, so that is Dark Imps. Getting the Sand Ruby, getting the Spoon. Meanwhile, Aikir taking on Asura here at the Crystal Sword Altar. One little pickup that Aikir got another on the way up to Maldor deals was a Mute Dagger, so is definitely having a much easier time. You're doing a lot of damage right now with that quad damage boost there from that.
Yeah, Asura counts as a mage, and we just saw double Asuras, so everything's going fine for Aikir, right? Wow, 8,000 damage. What a swing from Edge, and down she goes.
Unfortunately, Young getting knocked down, missing out on that experience, but should be able to make it up, and just an elixir and a spoon from that fight.
You have to pour, it's like medicine when you were a kid. You gotta have the spoon to get the medicine in, right? So it makes sense to me.
Yeah, the spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down as well.
There we go. So we had
sorry.
We had a question in chat about Fast ROM. Do we want to talk about that while we're here?
Yes, that is a change that has been added in the 5.0 version of the alpha, so that does have a bit of an impact on how these fights go and how the game feels. Some of these faster boss spots definitely. Some of the buffering you get from the animation delays you lose out on.
I know that a lot of advanced runners are taking advantage of run buffering to keep their battle speed at 1 through some of these faster fights. We do see much smoother animations in general, but I know for one was not expecting some of the differences. So I do expect that's going to be mostly standard flag as we go forward. So it's going to be curious to see how runners in general adapt to some certain fights, certain animations being much quicker. But I think it's really exciting to see sort of some of those base dynamics change.
It does, and our restream review discover pointing out slow might not be quite the help that it once was with that fast ROM nowadays. So be interested to see how the community adapts.
You also, some people I'm sure will adapt by lowering their battle speed. Some people will get better at run buffering. Some people like me will just completely forget and be surprised by certain bosses are ways too fast all of a sudden. So yeah, it's an interesting flag. I think it's really fun to see these quality improvements added and see the way that they change as the game kind of flows a little bit smoother. Aikir's found a Dark Imp, or Dark Elf, I believe. That's at the Ribbon Room?
Can't remember if that was the white spear or the Ribbon Room. I was kind of keeping an eye on Shiru's Golbez fight because that wall dropped at the wrong time.
That is a tough Golbez to get through.
It is. There's a lot of experience. The magic hits hard, but not hard enough where you can really just rely on reflecting. Obviously, Fire 3 being on with this Witch Bez does make that a little bit easier, but you still got to get through the rest of it the rest of the HP while you're getting there. But yeah, This will be okay for Shiru rather than throwing herself at it another time. Go do something else. Is going to go cash in that Twin Harp, commit to your fades. I respect this decision a lot. Even though we know the Darkness Crystal is through it, I respect the decision.
Absolutely, and we know that the only reward for that gold baz in the basement, aside from the spoon, the 10% item, there's 10% experience bonus, is a Gaia drum, which, from our perspective, I mean, that this is a good fade, and Shiru, I think, going to go check out that Twin Harp, which, I don't know, I'm excited, I'm looking forward to some music, and I'm looking forward to seeing the question answered, what's behind the harp?
Yeah, no, it's a pass. That is a huge find for Shiru. And at a minimum, we as a free enterprise community get to hear one of the wonderfully made community songs, harp songs, taken from various areas of pop culture. As Ike here does get through Dark Alpha and just getting another coffin and a spoon. Yeah, our tracker Xenocat pointing out, not a great moon so far.
I here might be feeling a little frustrated going through this, but I believe he's going to complete the set. We've seen 3 moon altars so far, 2 down, but let's get ready because Shiru has found the Dark Elf, almost certainly about to call on Edward's musical aid, and we'll get to hear what tune he's got on deck. In a minute.
He's getting there. He's slowly getting to the harp.
It really is a long cutscene.
He doesn't get much time in the game, so he's milking as much of his screen time as he gets. I get it.
All right, we'll be right back, folks. Please enjoy the tunes. All right. The D-Lunars go down, and Shiru will find the rat tail.
Yeah. Another key item check, another chance of that pass. That will basically leave her with just found ordeals after this, I think, and because I don't think that Golbez is going to be the last location, which is good because it should be.
So Xenocat tells us that was Ribby Flats from Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Xenocat, of course, the maestro who's sequenced many of these incredible tunes. So thank you, and we hope you enjoyed. Shiru off to do the trade-in. I think has to get the hovercraft first. Yep. And Aikir through the Dr. Luge for 2 more checks, which were so quick I missed them.
Looks like the adamant was one of them, so that is the other half of the legend sword at the top of the tower. So Aikir will get if Aikir does the both checks, and that's the pass on Shiru's side.
That is spicy. Shiro about to be completely in go mode here. All she has to do is decide if she's got enough experience to go, and will be able to skip the moon entirely.
So yeah, no, Moon's not haunted. Moon does have half an objective and another Masamune for Shiru to go with the first one she got from Sheila 2.
Unfortunately, Aikir cannot get that third of the 4 required objectives without the tower key. So not haunted, but not as useful as I think Aikir would like. Shiru, meanwhile, firmly in the driver's seat.
And, we were talking earlier about experience on the moon, getting powered up through there. This is a moon that has been aggressively punishing you for that approach, because all but one boss has had split experience. Mom Bomb doesn't give full experience because she breaks into the smaller bombs. We've seen Darth Elf Aga here, our third Dark Elf of the Seed. So he's only going to give half experience. Dr. Luge gives reduced experience. So this has not been as good a moon as it could have been, unfortunately, for Aikir, in a lot of ways.
Shiru looks like she's made her decision. She thinks she's ready for the... Oh, no, maybe not.
Might just be saving. Don't want to have to redo any cutscenes if you forgot. And, whomst among us hasn't forgotten to save at a key juncture and had to redo a bunch of things?
I do that on a regular basis.
No. No, definitely, I don't care if you're just starting out or experienced runner, if you don't think you saved at a key juncture, it's worth taking the 10 seconds to go and save again. It saves you a lot of heartache later.
Right.
Shiru is going in here. We do have a bit of a question here, Veritas, that we want to ask. Would you happen to know what that is?
Well, the simple fact is that the final boss of the game, Zeromus, is simply too big and nasty to move around. You wouldn't want to run into him in the Mist Cave or in the Antlion. So rather than move him around, we've chosen to randomize his sprite to one of around 700 potential items, which leads us to the question we ask at the end of every free enterprise game where defeating Z is required. Whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
Yes. Is it cute? Does it wear a hat? Does it pay taxes? My personal favorite, will we have to create one to kick it?
We're going to find out here in a moment.
Oh well,
no. It's definitely cute, but
unless you're a Smash player, then you know how scary a Jigglypuff can be.
There you go. So Shiru choosing to zerk up her edges with those Bacchus wines, throwing the silk web, both to slow Zeromus down and also nerf that first Big Bang.
Yeah, the nuke counters that Zeromus gives out in response to in response being hit with magic lowers his magic attack. The first time you do it, it just stays down before the Big Bang. There's no reset of it, unlike later where you have to be more specific with your timing in order to get that nerf. So this will make that Big Bang only do maximum of 1200 damage. So yeah, that I think part of Shiru's approach here is the fact that she has found some really strong weapons for those edges. So the melee damage, getting those Zerks on there, like you said, slowing down Zeromus. Just clogging the queue with those actions. Definitely, I appreciate that decision here. Has the ability to put out the damage.
Speeding up the edges too, casting fast, using the twin porums to cast fast on the edge and get their actions in as quickly as possible. I still am a little curious. We didn't see any spoons thrown. I thought that was why we were here today. But hey, I'm not the runner, and I'm not going to argue with someone who's beating this way faster than I would.
Yeah, no. And you hit on it earlier with clogging the queue and slowing down Zeromus. The spoons are going to do more damage for sure, but you want to have that. You just want to get those actions going, so makes sense to do that. And might be looking to open up she might be looking to open up a curio shop later. Have some nice spoon collection.
And it could be antiques. We don't know. It doesn't tell us.
So one thing that's going to be making this a little bit slower for Shiru, which does make the fight more dangerous, is I don't think the edge in the number 2 slot, the very top of the screen, has been back rowed. So he's only hitting at times for 700 damage.
That big bang really caused a lot of trouble for Shiru. Meanwhile, Ikir has gone to Cave Value and is fighting the Demist. We know that that's not going to give the goods that Ikir requires, and Shiru is going to reset out of that Z fight.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think that some going through and using up some of those extra sirens will be just make the fight a little bit more manageable. But is going to lower the battle speed down to 6 and give it another go. Maybe able to get that nerf.
This time we're going to see some spoon throws before the Zerks drop. I feel like that would help manage a little bit more. Back row glitched the edge, so I think Shiru saw that you called out there, Roddy Sniper, and we'll see if attempt 2 is going to be more successful.
Yeah, one of the challenges Shiru has here, Porum is a very good white mage, but Rosa is generally preferred because she gets Cure 4 a lot faster. Relying on Cure 3, it's not as strong a healing spell, and it's also a slower spell to cast than Cure 4 is. So that does increase the degree of difficulty of this fight not having a Cure 4 caster.
It's definitely gutsy running into it right now, and it makes me think Shiru probably feels behind the late pass find. We know she's not, but it does make me think that maybe she's feeling some pressure from not finding that route to Zeromus earlier.
There's a good chance because she's an experienced runner, so my Darkness Crystal is either on ordeals or through ordeals, which I get the only thing that could be through is the Earth Crystal. So she knows that she last locationed an item, and at least as far as our runners on screen, we know that she has done everything else very well to get herself in a good position. But to your point, she doesn't know that.
Exactly. Ikir picks up the package from Cave Value and is headed back to the blue planet, likely to keep looking for key items. Meanwhile, Shiru is throwing some spoons, going to get those quad 9s stacked up on Mr. Z.
Yeah, and our tracker pointing out that that between these two runners, we've seen everything.
A minute 22-ish to do every potential key item check in the flag set, which is, I think, very well done. Ikir is now going to go take the Baron key route. We know that will bring him to the Tower Key, and we know that from Tower Key one finds all the good stuff.
Yeah, so getting that piece of the puzzle that will eventually let everything click together for him, as Shiru is relying on those darts, is trying to get that damage through. Wasn't getting the melee damage per turn that she was hoping to get. So these will help with that.
It has, in fact, gone through the entire set of cutlery as the last spoon is thrown at the Jigglymus. That's right, Wylam. What about two Cure 3s duct taped together? It's almost kind of the same thing.
Yeah, that makes it a cure. That makes it a cure 9, right?
That's how math works.
The only math I know is whether or not the odds spell disaster for Samoa Joe at sacrifice. So
that's very important math. What was 141 2/3% chance? If memory serves, it's been a
143 and 2/3% chance.
Steiner math is
another full power Big Bang, not getting the nerf on there, and now that is Shiru just kind of holding on, just hoping this edge can do enough damage, but there's another shake, so yeah. Her hope right now is just doing enough, but 2k a turn just isn't enough to really get through that. Yeah, no, there it is.
There it is.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was...
Our incredible tracker mentioned a little while ago that it looks like a few more levels might be required, and I do think that is where we're at, but we'll see what Shiru decides.
Yeah, with a party like this, you know, having to go back down, having to go crack a few more eggs after you've already done a grind is annoying, no question. It's extra time. It's that you have to go through. But you know, you really want to go and do what we call. I think that the safer strategy for the Z fight would be hybrid strats. Taking the time, get ready to nuke, get these Porums up to white, so they can bounce spells off of a wall or a Star Veil to do extra these edges out.
Really curious why Shiru's taking ordeals at this point. Unless she really wants to access a grind somewhere, but she's got tons of sirens still.
Yeah, unless she's thinking about grabbing Tella for Cure 4, but knows she needs that, you know...
This gauntlet feels so bad at this stage. This is going to take forever.
Yeah. And in any other boss configuration, this would be a relatively quick way of getting a Cure Forecaster because you can get Tella. But because there's gauntlets here, that just drags it out a little bit more than you'd like. So, yeah, I'm interested to see where she goes after this because she does a couple options, but you know,
I have to think that taking a few more eggs would be a little bit quicker than this. She didn't know the gauntlet was here, but even so, I don't know. Aikyr is now in the Barren Basement. We know that's not going to give him any additional information, and that the path to success is through the Super Cannon room. But yeah, definitely Aikyr is catching up with these decisions being made in those two Z bounces.
Yeah, it does look like his edge is close in levels to Shiru's first edge, is because based on the HP totals. So not too far behind. Doesn't have the sirens that Shiru has, but is relatively close on levels, it looks like.
Aikyr does have to go to the tower at some point. We know this, and may choose to grab some sirens on the way up. Has the same, not as efficient a siren snagging grind as Shiru had, but does have an edge, does have a Porum to go ahead and steal as many sirens as he wants. shouldn't need too many with the experience points bonuses that he's stacked up from doing all those moon checks. So well above double experience now. So that grind could end up being a little bit more efficient. It's a really interesting setup here. So I'm really curious to see how this goes.
It does look like Ike here is going to take a detour up to the Twin Harp, though, taking the swag chocobo at the chocobo forest that appears in the chocobo forest at Baron after you raise the darkness crystal. Is gonna get the rat tail, which will lead to the pass if he turns that in with the pink tail.
I get it. You've committed to not doing the tower before. You had the opportunity to do keyless tower. You're probably hoping you can save that to last and not have to go back underground. And it is a long walk up, and there's cut scenes, and we know there's a Golbez in there. That's going to slow Ikir down as well. But, I mean, at the same time, there's so many more potential. Like 2 checks versus 1. I gotta feel like I would be fading the harp at this point. Not that we're going to complain about another round of incredible Xenogears music, but geez, it is certainly there's been some interesting decisions made.
Yeah, again, you commit to your fades. Ikir made a decision to fade Tower. Shiru made a decision to fade Mount Ordeals. Both of them going to be making that one of their last locations. So I understand the decision to do Twin Harp here, even with the density play now and making that more attractive. But is going to get the pass, which does save him if he does trade in the rat tails. That will save him the walk down the lunar subterranean, which is probably net time equal.
Yeah, it's not nothing. When you combine with the fact that Ikir is on the current path Ikir's on, will almost certainly also won't get the efficiency by going to the Tail Grotto multiple times, or the Adamant Grotto once. Yeah, it's probably about a wash. Really interesting. Shiru is going to go check out the treasury, the pretty darn disappointing treasury.
Yeah, I mean, the Stardust Rod will be nice to see at this point still, but that's about it.
Lord Goober Shiru's already taken a swing at Z twice and has bounced off, whereas Ikir is not yet in go mode. We know that go mode lies behind the super cannon for Ikir. This is definitely some really interesting decisions. Ikir is going to throw spoons at the D-Lunars until they go away.
So Shiru is going to go and complete the towers that will end up with a darkness crystal.
If we are able to get Shiru in for an interview, I really want to ask about some of these decisions, because it is really interesting at this point. Ikir is probably going to go turn on that rat tail. We'll get his pass from it, and then we'll have really only one thing left to do.
And I do want to point out that Xenocat, our tracker, is pointing out that the pass probably isn't as efficient as the time of the harp, but so is still going to get a bit of a time loss.
Xenocat has also pointed out that Ikir doesn't have the hook, which I completely forgot. That's hiding behind the pan bonk. Ikir also forgot it based on flying over there and trying to sit on top of the hovercraft. So Ikir is down to the Tower of Babel. Both checks in here will have value, but it's got to get up the tower and it's got to go through a Golbez and the Super Cannon. So there is still a fair bit of time available for Ikers and Go mode. Jazer, this is not E no XP. Both sides have the ability to grind as they see fit. So we did see a grind earlier. Shiru taking, using 2 edges and 2 porums to get herself a mitt full of eggs in Lower Babel, and then scrambling up a few eggs off of them. But we haven't seen any other grinds yet.
Iker is in the Super Cannon fight to take on this Golbez.
We're going to finally get to see what the Witch Bez replacement attack is.
Yeah, I don't. With these levels, I think that Yang's going to punch for more than this Golbez if he stays up during this fight.
I'm really curious to see even what the shadow attack was. In the underground, there was a second Golbez, and that one had Magnet and Fatal, which was a little tough. Ooh, just Fatal this time.
That's...
Oh, it's this. Is it the same? I thought it was random. Interesting. Or maybe it's the... Maybe it's Wyvern that has distinct attacks?
Yeah, Wyvern has its own chaos flag.
Well, there we go. Another flag to be added later on, maybe.
Yeah, no, we do have the Chaos Burn flag in effect, which means that Wyvern's opening attack will be randomized and for each one. But yeah, all Golbez's are the same.
Wylam says, all the Golbez's are the same. For now. Sounds like a threat, Wylam. Okay, with all the new flags, it is... You know what? It's a little tough to keep up with some of them. I'm doing my best, but... but that's what makes it fun, right? All the new randomy goodness.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of excitement around the 5.0 flag set. I'm really glad that we're getting another opportunity to show off what it allows to do. The ability to create these objective sets. Again, we have an objective set here where where you only have to get 3 of these 4 crystal objectives that gives you a spoon for each one on top of its check as a reward. So that's, the ability to create new and challenging flag sets with that objective grouping alone has been, this is a very different randomizer than it was even in 4.6. If it's been a while since you played this game, 5.0 is going to completely refresh it.
And there are lots of new clubs available that take advantage of the 5.0 flag set. Last week we detailed FTE Underground, which is a lot of fun. So if you are interested in hanging out with us, playing Free Enterprise, joining a club, you can hit up our Discord, which someone will pop it in chat right now. But it's also at our website, FF4FE.com. You can find the Discord there, as well as the wiki, which has lots and lots of really cool tricks. Like earlier today, when I was trying to figure out how to grind a D-Machine grind, I found a handy little guide there. And of course, you can generate your own seeds as well and play along. So lots of fun options there. And we would love to have you join. And this is also a great time to call out our incredible runners, Ikir and Shiru, who have been putting on a heck of a show, showing us this entire seed, and thanking Beauty, our Beauty and Discovery, our restreamer, Xenocat, our tracker, and Rowdy Sniper. Also to you. I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you as well, Veritas.
Looks like Shiru's through and has gotten her Darkness Crystal. Let's see what she's up to now. So she's going to go raise that whale.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Ikir does have the Legend Sword after completing the top of the tower, so has that objective in hand. We'll get the pan on the way out, which is another objective, and then it'll just be a matter of if he decides to turn in the, rat and pink tails as well.
think the pink tail is behind the Sheila turn-in. I think it was Sheila 1 was the pink tail.
Yeah, so he is going to get that. It's just, does he want another chance at a good item, which it's a Masamune, so yes, it'll be good. It'll be worth his time.
I think for Aikyr here, he knows that some combination of bonking Yang on the head or giving the pan to his wife is going to give him what he needs as soon as this check pops up. So there's not too much left for Aikyr to go through.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I hope Aikyr does get turned in both tails, so we can have that nice, beautiful it up and an 18 of 18, because 5.0 does count the pass as a key item. So that will no more 17 to 17. It'll be 18 of 18.
That's right. And again, as a reminder, we're using the new experience manipulation flags. So the standard sling is off. The bonus for 10 key items is off. But for every completed objective, both from the basic spoon giving set and from the 4 objectives on the screen, that the 3 of them give you crystal. Each of those gives a 10% experience bonus. And Aikyr, having full cleared the moon, where all those lunar altars are on, Aikyr has a very large experience point bonus for any grind he chooses to do in preparation for the Zeromus fight.
Yeah, shouldn't have too much of a grind to do, because he does have a lot of experience, a good amount of experience from those fights, but probably is going to want a little bit more, just to make that fight a little bit safer.
It looks like Shiru is going to try to take some of these altars to get the experience she needs, and like we discussed earlier, a lot of these are split experience. It's going to make that a little bit harder to do the grind. I wonder if she's going to do all of them, or if she's just looking to get to a certain point, get those Cure 4s and the Porums, or something similar.
Yeah, no, again, could take a little bit cheekier of a strategy as well and bust out what we refer to in the community as 1200 strats, since all of her characters are over 1200 experience. If a runner so chose, they could buy a stack of vampires and items that activate non-damaging items that activate Zeromus' newt counters, and as well as a stack of Star Veils, and can slowly chip away at that HP by basically making Zeromus do the work himself.
1200 HP strats are very interesting to me and completely beyond my skill level as a runner. So I prefer to take about 20 more eggs than necessary and just whomp them on the head.
It is a much slower fight. It would not be the recommended path in a flag set like this, but it is one of many different ways we have, especially that are nice to have in your back pocket, especially as you go into some of the more advanced or difficult flag sets.
All right, Aikyr's in go mode, has his crystal. We'll see if he chooses to go pick up the hovercraft. Looks like it. He's going to go do those tail turn-ins in the Adamant Grotto. And then he'll be at 18 of 18, and we'll see what comes next for him, if it's rate to Z or if it's a grind.
Yeah, it does look like he is going to do that. Our tracker Xenocat pointing out he's got the information. He has seen everything else in this flag set. He knows it's the pass.
All those beautiful key items lit up, and gets the extra Masamune for his troubles.
Now, every other objective that we have done, including the pool of 10 objectives, that all optional objectives that all gave spoons. That is our only objective of this seed that has not given a spoon. Other than the one that gives the crystal, all the rest, no spoon for your fourth one.
Yeah. You have enough, okay? That's enough. We're out of spoons. You can't have any more. Oh, Ike, you're making some decisions here. Interesting.
I don't know if this is an anchor pickup, because putting the Masamune on the edge does speed him up. So yeah, I'm thinking it's a spoon thrower. I'm thinking that since Rydia doesn't have nuke, another spoon thrower is going to be more effective and more efficient, which I don't necessarily disagree with. As much as I love using Rydia, I'm part of the Rydia Respect Army, but yeah, no, I do think that an edge throwing spoons is going to be a little bit stronger than her reflecting fire threes.
It's good to know that Rowdy Sniper is the marksman of the Rydia Respect Army. But I have to think this is going to be a cutlery tossing style Z fight. Ike here has stacked up a lot of spoons, and I would think they're all about to start sailing at Zeromus.
Now I don't recall that. Edge's that edge that just got picked up agility. That Masamune could put him at 28 agility, which is a anchor target, which is an target for agility anchoring that will allow for a safe, stable Z fight that keeps him slow. So usually we go for lower agility numbers, but this might be this is a case where you can actually speed up a little bit to hit a different agility target and still have the same benefit.
Just Googled it, and it looks like the starting agility for Edge is 23, so you are exactly correct.
Yeah,
23 plus the 5 for the swords, so... I think it's 5 on the Masamune.
So...
Someone in chat will know.
Crystal ring, then. If it's 23, you said? Then yeah, probably would want that crystal ring on Z, on that middle edge, then.
Yeah, so it's 3. So yeah, that would be a 26 agility, which makes it a little bit
harder. If you actually want to be over your break even point numbers on these relative agility things, because if you're under it, 27 is really rough, but 29 is better.
Yeah, if you are new to Free Enterprise and you're wondering what the heck we're talking about. So the way that Free Enterprise calculates how fast the characters go is by using a stat called relative agility. In Free Enterprise, it's looking at the character in the middle slot or the hero if C hero is set. It then multiplies that character's agility by 5, and you divide that by the other character's agility to see how many ticks it takes for that character to get in action. There is a really, really good video by Tall Grant available that explains this in great detail. I watched it earlier today because I was having some agility problems. But it's really important, especially for some of these later fights, to understand, at least have a good concept of how agility works, so that you can make sure that you're anchoring well and getting lots of spoons thrown at Zeromus.
So it does look like Ikir missed that silk web, so following up the nerf with the direct cast of virus, anchor edge does go down, so that will take away one of the spoon casters, but does nerf the Big Bang at least. And yeah, some of our former members of our rookie league, the Pink Puffs, in the chat are, I think, supporting our final boss here.
I mean, Jigglypuff is absolutely a Pink Puff, if not in the pure rules of Final Fantasy IV, then certainly in spirit.
Yeah, I would say there.
On Shiru's side, she's gotten through the I think that was the Crystal Sword Altar, and is now going to continue her moon dive, picking up all those bosses and experience on the way.
Yeah, and then probably just take the walk on down to fight Zeromus here on the moon. So, won't necessarily utilize that pass, but just be able to walk on down there. Still seems a little bit shy on those top-end spells for those casters, unfortunately.
Ikir has thrown quite a few spoons, chooses to zerk up his edge, his primary edge, I should say. And we're still throwing crystals to try to keep those upcoming big bangs nerfed.
Fortunately, the Porum taking the counter nuke, but surviving. It has time to get that Cure 4 off.
Here comes the big bang.
Okay, did get the nerf, so you can see there didn't do near as much damage as Shiru was taking on some of those later big bangs. So you can see the effect, see how important that is to make this fight a lot more manageable without a really long grind.
Rydia throws out an Ashura summon to get quite a few hit points back, and we are at Rock's phase.
Yeah, that is the final phase. Romus is about 10% left of his HP, and we'll just start spamming the Meteor spell. And yeah, that is the crack, that is the crumble, and Jigglymus is down, and Ikir has finished here first on the restream.
GG's to Ikir. Wow, what a fascinating seed this has been.
Yeah, it really kind of funneled you to it really kind of funneled those runners to that, to that super cannon room through Baron. One of the nice parts about having the ability to do 3 out of 4 objectives normally is that you can avoid that tunneling in a seed as far as how the path it wants you to go. And this time, though, everything kind of all roads
lead to the super cannon. And speaking of, Ikir has popped into the booth. Ikir, GG's, congratulations.
Yeah, GG.
Thank you.
GG's. Ikir, how are you feeling when you realize that there was, other than the adamant, that there was not so much on the moon at all?
Very disappointed. I mean, Moon Haunted is a meme, and it was true the seed thing. Adamant did give me a thing, but everything else was still on planet Earth, so... so many items. At least the XP was good.
Yeah, definitely the XP was good. Early on, you got the Darkness Crystal, you popped up to the moon, we saw you pick up the Hourglasses. I thought you might pop over to the Hairdryers at that point to take advantage of some quick experience. What were your decision-making around sort of the early experience layout, getting some of those earlier objectives to try to get the bonuses? We noticed that you waited to open the sealed cave door, for example. So was there any thought there, or was it just kind of just going?
I completely meant to do the Magna Key before I went to the moon, just so I could do hair dryers for 10% extra XP. And then also opening the doing the sealed cave once I got underground. I just completely forgot about them when the plan happened. I forget about things all the time like that. It's like, hey, here's a plan, and then 5 minutes later, nope, plan's gone. But yeah, the extra XP would have helped a little bit, but probably not a whole lot.
Yeah, I think we've all made some similar forgetfulness decisions. So you did the full 18 out of 18 on this one. Is there a moment where you felt like you would, like, at what point did you feel like things were, I definitely have to go back to the blue planet, or at what point were you feeling like sort of distress about the the lack of those critical key items.
Right before Ribbon Room, I had done 3 things up there and no key items. So I'm like, okay, is anything up here? Because I did I did I didn't do Bahamut, but I did Mirasame, I did White Crystal Altar, I did White Spear Altar. I'm like getting nothing. The bosses were nice and easy though, so I'm thankful for that. But just lack of key items was. Whew. Yeah, I got a bit distressed after that. I got the adamant out of Ribbon Room. I'm like, okay, well maybe there is something else up here, and that is the objective. Once nothing came from Rasputin Altar, then it's like, oh man, there's gonna be nothing here, is there? I'm gonna go to Bahamut. There's gonna be nothing there, and I don't think there was anything there.
The package, and at that point we were aware in the booth that had to be the package. So
yeah, it was not, because I skipped a bunch of stuff I could have done on planet Earth. Like I could have climbed and done the lower Babel. I could have turned in Sheila 1. I skipped Twin Harp at the time and Baron, just to like, hey, get the moon, give me some XP, and set myself up for the end game. And yeah, moon was XP. Everything else was on the planet. At least I knew that's like, okay, well, the pass has to be on one of the tails. I might as well do that instead of having to walk the moon again.
Absolutely. Roddy Stamper, do you have any questions?
No, you've hit everything that I've had, Veritas, so very nicely done. I just want to say, Iker, excellent job getting through. You saw a lot of this seed, but you handled it all and got through it all very effectively.
My biggest point was finding Edward, and then realized he couldn't wield the spoon, so I couldn't keep him. I'm like, I have Edward, yes! Wait, flag set. Spoon's out, dang. Well, I was hoping for somebody else powerful, but I had 2 edges showed up for darting things. I just saved 7 spoons for the end.
Yeah, I love watching the edge dart spoons. It's like one of my favorite things in Free Enterprise, so this flag set has been a particular treat.
Yeah, it was all the spoons, all the time.
Yeah, I think you got all the possible spoons in this.
I missed the Giant of Babel. I wasn't going to finish that first.
Oh, that was the third random objective. Okay,
yeah.
We didn't see that in the booth, so
that's like 2 free ones. Oh yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, so unlocks the okay, bag the key, and Giant. I'm like, well, Giant's not happening for any reason because there's nothing there.
So 11 out of 12 spoons, and all 17 other key items. So quite the collection. Quite the collection.
Yep, full clear. You stay on planet Earth. You don't even have to go up to the moon. You don't have to get it. You get your 2 spoons from Objective B, and that's it. That's no fun.
Matic finished in 117, and I have to believe Matic didn't reach the moon.
No moon there. I didn't switch over until I was almost finished. And I saw the 117. I'm like, yeah, somebody never went to the moon.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, and once again, congratulations on winning the restream tonight. GG's, very fun to watch, and if you choose to watch it back, I think you'll get a good kick out of watching it.
And congratulations getting second place amongst our 4 runners as well. So very nicely done there.
And thank you to Roddy Sniper and Meredith Knight for the commentary, Xenocat for tracking, and Beauty Discovery for streaming. Thank you. Appreciate all your hard work.
Thanks. Have a great night. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, GG.
Have a good night, everyone.
All right, so while we were chatting with Iker, Shiru is continuing to work her way through the moon altars. She's at the Dark Elf, which I think is the last one.
Yeah, this is the Dark Elf at the Masamune altar, so this will be the last one. Trying to get that Rydia back up to get her the experience, and I think probably get her at or very close to Nuke.
I believe if Shiru really wanted to, there were options to take gold dragons up here, but I have to think that she's going to head down and for the 3rd shot at the Jigglymas. So
yeah, getting white on both the Porums at least, but only up to stone on Rydia. Rydia does have the highest experience requirement to get her top end spell. Even million experience to get up to level 50 for that. So that is probably her biggest drawback, is that it takes her a long time to get her best spells as opposed to Palom.
Looks like Shiru is going to take that save, and then I would imagine we're seeing her head back down to the boss.
Yeah, the 2 whites will be effective for any reflex strats that she wants to use. So they're a little bit slow. White is slower than Nuke, but it'll still do pretty good damage.
Shiru taking a moment to organize her inventory, which is absolutely something that I do, and I do not have. I've tried to do, in-game, in-fight organizing, and it just ends up worse than it starts. So I completely understand you want to have everything right at hand.
Yeah, that's one of those skills that, as you really get to be one of the a very experienced runner and very comfortable with the menuing in the game, you know when to take those opportunities, you know when to optimize that inventory. It's truly one of those skills that it saves a lot of time. It saves time in the long run being able to do that. But, even just taking the time here, collect your thoughts, think about your plan, how you're going to approach the Z fight, and get everything in order so you can save that time menuing. Same with taking the time to just move your spells around so you have the spells you're going to use right up top. I'm very guilty of forgetting to do that, and so I have to go all the way to the end of my spell list and take a couple extra seconds every time I want to cast Nuke. So taking the time to do that, whether it's in battle or outside, does end up helping out and make things a lot faster as far as time efficiency. So definitely a habit to get into, and again, as you get more used to the menuing and stronger at, then you can start doing it in fight.
I find myself wondering if the fast ROM is going to impact that, because I've noticed that one of the biggest places where experienced runners do their in-battle menuing is during the breakdown for the 4 Fiends, and that just goes faster now. So it feels like there's a little bit less opportunity. Not that there's none, but I don't know. It's just, again, there are significant quality of life changes that, with that fast ROM on, impact a lot of the ways that people have traditionally run and play free enterprise. So I'm really curious to see how some of those top tier runners adjust over time.
No, that is a good point. Losing those couple extra seconds to move things around does make an impact. But I will say, free enterprise runners, if anything, are very adaptable. Especially when you take away their grind, their ability to. They will find a way, and I'm sure they'll figure out how to make fast ROM work even more to their advantage, rather than just reduce the animation times.
I know, having watched quite a lot of the historical VODs, which are on our YouTube page, of course, youtube.com/freeenterprise. I have noticed that as every time a tournament or a major flag set introduces an intentional challenge on things like getting those easy grinds or certain ways to play, by the end of that tournament, it is no longer an obstacle. There is a new grind. There's a new way to figure it out. Free enterprise runners are incredibly adaptive to any challenges that get put in front of them. So that's why I said I'm excited to see what changes, because I know that whatever changes, it's going to be interesting to watch. Yeah, Shiru back in the fight. Jigglymus has made their appearance. Spoons and Excaliburs are being thrown. Shiru is certainly in a much stronger position than during her first 2 shots.
Yeah, having cure for having a lot more spoons to throw is going to go a long way in helping. She has 2 cure forecasters. She can throw a wall up on one of those characters and reflect the whites back at Zeromus for extra damage. But those quad 9 darts are probably going to be enough. Won't have to spend the time casting those white spells.
100,000 damage of spoons alone, which pretty potent spoons.
Yeah, no. That some pretty high quality stuff there. Definitely like an Oneida or something like that.
You'd think a knife would be better, or a fork even, but spoons, all spoons. All right, Palom throwing a Cure 3. I think that Palom, is that Palom underleveled or is that... Anyway, but the darts keep coming. They don't stop coming.
So there's another shake. I think just a case where Shiru just didn't take the time to menu all the way down. Just took the Cure 3 that was available, hoping that would be enough.
The last spoon has been queued.
Yeah, we're now being out grabbing whatever to help out. Consider unequipping the Masamines that are on these edges to get a little bit stronger dart as well.
Yeah, so with the amount of darts thrown, we're well over 100,000. So the Jigglymus has tipped into the refill and should be getting pretty close to the end. And there's the
there's the rocks. Yeah, and good call. Go ahead and Zerk up at least one of your edges to get that damage going. You're out of useful darts unless you want to throw that drain spear that you've been carrying the whole time. But nope, there's the crack and crumble on Shiru's side. GG.
GG Shiru, way to persevere and get through this seed that was throwing quite a lot at you. We'll see if we get an interview in a moment here. Wow. What a seed, though. What a fascinating watch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As you saw, Shiru was in go mode relatively quickly, but just didn't have the equipment and didn't have to make a low-level Z fight easier. Didn't have the stack of spoons at the time, and didn't have the levels to get those mages fully going. So, kind of very awkward position to be in as a runner, because it's like, I could possibly do it, but it's extreme. It's a very high degree of difficulty fight with the position she was in when she first started, when she first took on Z.
It was definitely a gutsy call to go in a really gutsy call to go in at that level and take a few cracks at it. And although it took Shiru 206 and she did finish fourth, she wasn't that far behind our third runner, Cubs Rule, who finished with 2 hours and just a little bit of change. This seed, if you did not follow kind of the way it was laid out, you were going to be running around. So absolutely no shame in taking the time and to get the experience needed and to make sure that on the third try Z went down pretty good, pretty easy.
Yeah, no, she got the setup she was comfortable with, got those levels, and made very quick work of Z after that fact. So Shiru will not be joining us for an interview. GG's to her, and congratulations on getting through.
Yeah, GG's to Shiru and the other runners tonight, Matic, Ike here, and Cubs Rule. Thank you all for participating. Folks, we're going to be back here tomorrow night at 9 o'clock for the free Enterphone Club showcase. I'm told that it is going to be a really interesting restream. So I highly recommend, if you have the time, pop in and see what's going on, because I think you're going to have a lot of fun. Once again, Rowdy Sniper, this has been a ton of fun. Thank you so much for being in the booth with me. I've really, really enjoyed the experience.
Been a lot of fun. But been a lot of fun. We're calling this with you, Veritas. a great race and a great seed. So a lot of fun to be calling it with you.
Thanks, amazing. And also thank you to Beauty and Discovery for setting this whole thing up, making sure that the internet bits flow from the runners' computers all the way to yours, wherever you're watching on Twitch. Thank you to Xenocat for pressing the buttons and lighting up all those incredible key items and objectives. And yeah, we're going to head on over to Wef Jebster. I think I said that right, who's playing a drafted seed. So let's hold on and we'll check that out. But folks, thank you so much for listening. It's been a real pleasure to host for you tonight. And we'll catch you next time.
Thank you, everybody.